Star Wars Geek Girls. They're geek girls that like Star Wars. And sometimes cry.
Hello and welcome to Star Wars Geek Girl. I'm Zoe, and as usual, I'm here with Lizzy.
Hello.
And we are going to talk about Star Wars.
Star Wars.
We had a great day today. Because Andor and Tales of the Jedi both came out on the same day, which is kind of crazy that they did that, but I'll take it. So we're not going to talk about Tales of the Jedi in this episode. We are going to talk about Andor, and then we will talk about Tales of the Jedi in another podcast with a very special guest. So
very special.
Very special. I'm very excited. It's Jonah Murray. I'm sorry. I was like,
no.
I'm sorry. I was like, I'm curious, and I was like, I'm too excited. I'm so excited. I've got the podcast with Jonas. We've been podcasting with Jonah since Bad Batch. The Bad Batch premiere, maybe. At least Bad Batch. I think was the last time. Or wait. Did Bad Batch come? No, Mando season 2 came before Bad Batch. Right?
Yes. I don't remember the timeline of shows anymore. It's all like, yeah, it came out when it did.
I think it was Bad Batch.
Yeah. It's very exciting. But we will talk about that later. And very coolly, because we'll be talking about it literally tomorrow, but for the listeners, it's probably like later. But it's so cool.
Old news. The old news. That's fine. Yes. So super excited. But today we're gonna talk about Andor, which is also super exciting. Really, they're all really good. Every week is a good episode. So yeah, super hype. So what are your spoiler-free thoughts on this episode of Andor? No, Wikipedia doesn't have a full summary. Oh God, what am I gonna do?
Yeah, Wikipedia also has so many like ads.
Oh my gosh, I know. Listen,
my computer.
listen. They gotta, they gotta get paid. Keep it up. All right. Yeah, there's right no summary in Wikipedia. Okay.
Like it's like beyond my choice, but they're giving me like a horror like trailer of a game like I already played, but I would not want, but it's until dawn. Yes, Until Dawn. And like good game.
That's a good game.
But there are some parts that I would never want to see again.
That's fair. But that's an old game. They're playing the trailer for that game?
Yeah. It like I saw it and then
quite a few years ago.
I think they're making another one. Not another Until Dawn, but like another similar.
I know they did make another similar game that came out recently.
Yeah. I think that either might be like a sequel or something, because I'm looking at the trailer now, but like I can't hear it because like I'm podcasting.
Right.
But they're like replaying like scenes from Until Dawn, I think. No, I'm confused.
Interesting. Maybe it's a video that's like, remember the creators of Until Dawn? They made. I don't know what that game is called. I heard of it. I can't remember it right now though. It's called something. It's like a cabin. It's always a cabin.
Yeah.
In the woods somewhere.
It's always somewhere, and it's always like Native American, like some kind of like Native American like monster that they don't credit, and sometimes they do. I don't know. I might check it out later, but it won't tell me what the game is. It's like, here's this ad, but I can't see what it is. Anyway, but the spoiler free. There was a lot. Like usually, well, not usually, but like there's certain episodes where it's like, here's Cassian, and then here's what's going on over here. This one felt like there was like 4 different things happening all at once, which I guess was technically what was happening, but it was like Cassian, Serial, like Bix, and then just like so many other things. Like there was a lot. That's a little spoilery. That's my bad.
It's okay.
But
That's okay.
there was a lot that was happening. It went pretty smoothly though, in my head. And I think, I don't know, this episode was very good. It's it felt slow, but I think that's just because they were going back and forth with people. Because they're trying to get, the story happening, I guess. I'm not sure. But I mean, it was very good. Yeah. I don't know. I don't really have spoiler-free thoughts. Just spoiler thoughts.
Yeah, I guess my spoiler-free thoughts is this episode was ostensibly slower than some of the other ones, yet so much was happening. Like, like it's very, I don't know, because like especially like Cassian's part of the story really like did not terribly much happen, but we learned so much. And
Yeah.
and I think that's kind of how it was with all of them. Like there weren't any big grand like this happened, blah blah blah. Maybe a few, but for the most part it was just we were learning things. And I was a little tired. It was very late at night, but I was very in it. It was amazing. This show is just killing it every week. And yeah. All right, we'll do spoilers now. I can't take this.
Yeah.
So Wikipedia's not updated yet. It's been less than 24 hours, so I guess. And they also have Tales of the Jedi to worry about. So I know. Just kidding. We respect
like they gotta
Wikipedia.
Get these people at midnight. Like
no, I respect Wikipedia so much. Okay.
Yes,
they
we do.
Provide invaluable service. Every time I'm like, I wonder what kind of soup this character was drinking. Wikipedia's got it.
Yeah.
We respect Wikipedia in this house. I'm not an editor. I can't do that. But I take advantage of their contributions every day. Probably not even exaggeration. Yes. So, yeah. So I don't have like the beat by beat thing I usually go through. So we're just gonna go. So Cassian's arc. So we obviously remember at the end of last episode, Cassian gets arrested, and so he goes through their sad little excuse of a court. And then they like, oh my gosh, it was like so hard to watch. Like the stormtroopers were literally just like pushing him around, like all the prisoners, like pushing him around, like yelling at him for no reason. And they went on to different ships, and Cassian gets sent to Narvina 5, which is the name of the episode.
Yes.
He gets to Narvina 5, and immediately when they're on the ship, they're like, "All right, grippers out."
Yeah.
Take your shoes off. And I was like, "This is kind of weird, but okay." Like, it's probably like a tactic to like demoralize them or whatever, or maybe they just want to like make sure they're not hiding anything in their boot, because that always happens in Star Wars. People be hiding their things in their shoes.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, it's kind of weird, but sure.
Yeah.
And they get there, and all the storms, like all the guards and everything on the prison have like these really weird shoes, like they kind of remind me of, yeah, they're like big fluffy, not fluffy, like big padded boots. They kind of remind me of, you ever see moon shoes?
What?
Moon shoes.
Like
it was a thing.
Going to space shoes?
No. And really, they did not look like moon shoes that I'm thinking of at all. This is just for some reason what I thought of. Look up moon shoes. It was like a toy from my childhood.
I lived the same childhood.
No, but apparently we didn't, because you don't know moon shoes, man.
I don't know a lot of things.
This is true. But yeah, I just remember seeing like the commercials for these all the time, and I did. Yeah, I don't know. They don't look like moon shoes, but they also do remind me of them for some reason. I saw it, and also again, it was like 1:30 in the morning, but I was like, "Ha! They got moon shoes."
They remind me of like just like when you break your ankle kind of shoes.
Oh, like a boot, like a cast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have these weird shoes, and I was like, "That's weird." But sure, maybe this is the fashion. You never know in Star Wars. Is it like, does it have a purpose, or is this just what they like?
Yeah, is that for cool or that for something?
Right. And so they walk out, and the guy is like, "Welcome to Narkina 5." And he's like, "You might wonder why we don't have any weapons. It's because of this." He pushes a little button, and I guess the floor like electrify. It's like made of something, and the floor
Yeah.
electrifies. And since
What?
they are barefoot and don't have the fancy moon shoes,
But like, would it affect them if they had shoes anyway? Because they have boots, shoes.
yeah, they had. I wonder if it's like it maybe might or kind of affects them through normal shoes. So they wear the big shoes so that
Depending on the
to like make
material of
sure
their
it's like nothing.
sandals. They all
Yeah.
had really easily to remove shoes. Like I don't have sandals. I have Converse.
Listen,
Like
but
I
they were
would
on that
just be
beach. They were on that beach planet.
I don't I was near California my entire
Okay,
life.
but they were like from the beach resort.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
guess so.
like Cassian was a tourist. They're probably like mostly tourists that were just minding their business. Yeah. Like the reason they don't have shoes is because they use the floor electrifying them to punish them, which is like, bruh.
Yeah, it's like
Very intense.
Yeah.
I was made aware on Twitter that apparently this is not the first time this prison has showed up in something.
Thank you, Twitter.
Yeah, thank you, Twitter, I guess. It was in
Who
some
do you
comics,
follow
I'm
on
sure.
Twitter? All I got are opossums.
I don't get any opossums. I gotta look up who you follow on Twitter.
Like I have opossums, Calvin and Hobbes, and like artists. That's all.
Okay. Maybe it didn't show up in something before. I don't know. I feel like before this episode came out, there are people saying things like, "Oh my god, like Cassian's gonna meet Melshi, who he does meet in this character, and they're gonna have their feet out." So I assumed it was like a comics thing that I didn't get. Maybe it's not. Maybe people are just really smart. I'm dumb. Or maybe there's probably just like a trailer or something I didn't see because I don't really look at trailers. That seems more likely. Anyway, yeah. So so the whole episode they all got their grippers out.
Yeah.
There's a lot of shots of the feet, like a lot. And I get why. It's very like giving Tarantino Star Wars for sure. Yeah, you gotta taste Tarantino Star Wars. So yeah, so Cassian like he goes and then they go and it's like a work prison because of course it is. And they're like, "Oh, like our prison is so nice. You can have all the food you want. It's flavorless paste, by the way."
Yeah,
But, you know,
I don't know. I don't know
and
about
then
that.
and it's like our prison is so clean, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, but you shock people through the dogs on the feet on the
Yeah.
floor. So you know. But anyway,
Yeah.
so
Like
it
there's
goes
always something wrong with that. Like there's can't always be a paradise, unfortunately.
like, bro, just how about you just have a clean prison?
No.
Not using this like ridiculously
Either
like
get shocked
inhumane.
and be clean or get beat all the time and be dirty.
I mean,
I don't know.
that's a real question. Which prison would you rather go to in Star Wars? This one or the like dirty labor ones?
What about the one that Afra went to where it's just the sun?
Oh yeah.
I don't like
that
one
one
either.
sounds like horrible. I cannot. I am window blinds closed, door closed, like lights out, sleep. I would actually die, I think. I mean, I guess eventually you just, pass out in the sun. I mean, I've fallen asleep on the beach before, so it's like, I guess eventually you just like fall asleep. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like because I feel like this prison. I mean, no prison. Like none of them is good. This one's terrible. But like they're inside, probably air conditioned, and you get shocked that first time, and you only get shocked when you like have the least productive table. So you have a good table. I'm just saying compared to the other Imperial prisons.
Yeah,
This one
I think that's like
could
my
be
kind
worse.
of prison.
This is
Because
really
like all
terrible.
I do is work. I'd be like, work,
Yeah.
work. This is cool.
Like, yeah, sure. Wait, I'm in prison? What? This seems the same.
This is the same thing. I don't know. Oh, okay. I did have to say, so when, Keith, he's in there
Oh my
and
god,
they're like,
goes by Keith.
Keith's, yeah.
Freaking Keith.
Keith's dogs are out, it's a whole thing. Like they're gonna send him, like they're introducing him to his place of work, I guess now. And they meet that one guy that is in
Melshi.
Don't remember his name.
Melshi. It's Melty.
What else he's in?
Respect. Oh, do you mean Melshi or Andy Serkis?
The dude that is in a
They're all dudes. Okay, well, so there's Melshi who's in Rogue One, the character Melshi. I don't know who the actor is. And then there's the actor Andy Serkis.
Manager.
Yeah, Andy Serkis. I don't remember the character.
What is he? What else is he in? Because I know he's in things that I have.
Snoke. He is Snoke. He is the vibranium dealer guy in Black Panther and also Age of Ultron.
Yes,
I think he's in that movie.
That is. Yes, he's in.
He's Gollum, I think. I mean, you wouldn't know him necessarily from Gollum or Snoke because that's the CGI. But he's let me look him up. See what else he's in. Venom with the Carnage. He's in the recent Planet. Oh, he's in the Batman. I forgot he's in the Batman. Yeah. No, Andy Serkis showed up, and I was like, "Is that Andy Serkis?" And it was Andy Serkis. Kind of crazy. So he's now played 2 roles in Star Wars. I think at least. Maybe there's more. He's been Snoke, and he is now. I forget his name. He's just named. I was like, oh, it's Andy Serkis. Yeah.
Yeah. I saw him and I was like, I know you're in something, but I have no idea what right
now. Yeah, he's something Claw. His name. It's something silly like Eugene or whatever. Not Eugene's not silly, but it's like Eugene.
Something close.
It's like I think it starts with a U. Is it Ulysses? Ulysses Claw in Black Panther? Does that sound right?
I don't remember.
I think it starts with like a U sound. I don't know. Not sure. Doesn't matter. Yeah, he was he was a pretty interesting character because he is a prisoner. But he's very much like, I'm getting out of here soon. Like
he upgraded. He got promoted.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. And he meets Melshi. And I was like,
Ulysses Claw.
Okay, it was Ulysses. Yeah. Caspian also meets Melshi. Keith meets Melshi.
Wait.
I'm very excited for the Melshi arc. I don't particularly care about Melshi, but I'm like, that guy's in Rogue One. I know how you die.
Oh.
Do you remember Melshi? He's one of the rebels. He leads one of the squadrons, and then when Shrew and Baze are going, and there's the switch, he's the one that like points out the master switch. But then he dies because he got shot earlier.
Yeah, didn't he say cover me? No, he wasn't.
No, that was another guy.
But he was like, I'm going for it, and then died. No? Who
No,
is
that was
he?
another guy.
Which
The
one?
other- he's the one. So in Rogue One, I've seen this movie too many times. So in Rogue One, when they're on the battle near the switch and they're running, and one guy gets shot and falls down. Melshi gets down and tries to help him. He wears like a little hat thing, and then he gets shot and he has to keep running. And then so he goes, oh, there. Melchi goes, oh, there's the master switch, and Truth Bayes, and everyone look at it, and then that other guy goes, I'm going for it, and then immediately dies. And then we cut away to Jin and Cassian, and then we cut back, and Melshi has died from his wounds and is laying there, and it's just Truth Bayes. You remember Melshi? Cassian tells him to lead one of the squadrons. I'm gonna send you a picture of him in his hat, and then you might recognize it.
Okay.
He's also the guy. Oh, he's also the guy that goes like ready, ready, in the comm when Cassian asks if they're ready.
Mm-hmm. No. Like I know, but
I
like
sent you a
no.
picture of him.
Okay.
In his hat. You might recognize him in his hat.
Oh, that guy. I thought it was another guy. I thought we were talking about a whole different person. But yeah, I know that guy.
Yeah.
I thought we were talking about that one guy that was late, like before Cassian goes into the thing. I don't know, because like they had this weird thing that like either is trying to show like that the organization's trying to be like organized or like something, but there was like a weird pause before Cassian went in. He was like, hey, where is this guy? And they were like, oh, I don't know, he said he was going to be here. That was like a weird scene that I feel like I should point out, but I don't know what that's supposed to mean, because Cassian's eyebrow went like really high up. I don't know, that was an interesting scene, but anyway, yes, I know that guy.
Yeah, Melshi. So he meets him in this episode. That's him. One of the guys. Yeah, he's like, so Cassian gets assigned his work table. They're assembling, I don't know what they are. They look like something I assume goes in like a ship or a tank or possibly a really big droid. They're like wheel spokes kind of. So they have to like just make those all day long. And he meets all the people. There's like an old guy and Melshi. There's a guy named Ham. I just thought it was really funny. Like, this is Ham. It's like, sure is Ham. Why not?
Yeah.
His name's
There was
Ham.
something I was gonna say about the oh, that guy, the manager. Like when he was talking to Cassian, I just in my head I was like, man, this guy sounds like a chef. Like I feel no threats here. He's just like, you gotta work. And I'm like, yeah, all right. Show me where I work. Like I don't I was very much like, yeah, I can do this. That's fine. Yeah, the only thing is like I wouldn't want I would always try to win. I would be the number one table because I like
yeah. Well, and that's the other really weird thing about this prison is it's like almost like a game. They're like, yeah, if you win, if you're first, it's like Survivor. It's literally like the game of Survivor. It's like if you are in first place, you get better food, you get taste.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting
what taste?
because like
I don't know, but if you lose, you get shocked. It's like
yeah, it's interesting because like this is a different way like that I know of like that we're seeing the Empire like treat their people, because like there's different, I mean this is even in the workplace, there's different ways to treat people at work. Usually the Empire is like, nah, just beat them up, make them lose hope and they'll keep working. But like for this one it's like, hey, we will beat you up, but like here's rewards. You want
you
reward?
only get beat up if you're last place. You want to make sure one of the other at least one table's worse than you. You might not get that flavor. You don't get shocked.
Poor flavor.
No, I wonder what flavor. You get to pick? You think everyone picks, or they just have a flavor and like, all right, this is your flavor? I don't know. But
Um,
they're like, yeah, like it's so nice. Like you get unlimited food
maybe
out
it
of
just
your
has
little
salt.
feeding tube. I mean,
Maybe
hey,
it's like
it's better
just
than
salt.
nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they have like food. They have like a food hose and like a water hose. I will say, I do like the little plate, fork, spoon thing set up. He just like sticks it to the wall. You know,
Yeah. I
that's
like,
like
did
pretty
it get
convenient.
cleaned like that?
I don't know.
It just stayed
I mean, there
dirty.
was, I don't know. I mean, maybe there's a little like spray, like, or maybe he has to clean it with his own water. I don't know. I don't know. That seems really convenient. I like that a lot. They also have a little timer, a little countdown timer for how many days they have left. And someone did the math for Cassian's 6-year sentence. 1 year on Narkina 5 is the same amount of days as a year on Earth.
Hmm.
So yeah. So what else happens in prison? They get better to his table. They get shocked the first time. Mostly, I was like, okay, the whole time they're like, all right, Cassian, here's your station. Like, and so he like watched them do it, and then he just kept standing there. And I get it, like he's in shock, but I was like, Cassian, get to work. Like,
Yeah.
just ask him what to do. Like, you're gonna get shocked, bro. And they did, but then they got better. Um,
Yeah. And
what
then it
else?
was like uh 30 shifts later, I guess. Or
Yeah,
like there's a like that's I thought was interesting because they had like their own like not their own room, but they had like a bed. Seemed like everything looked pretty clean. Not gonna like
it was
don't
very
like
white,
very
smooth.
nice.
Someone likened it to THX 1138, which is George Lucas's one of his first movies, and it's in a like dystopian prison and aesthetically somewhat similar, which I thought was pretty cool.
Hmm, I did not know that. Um, but I think I thought that like their lights out, like so that way no one sneaks around or anything. Like they turn like the floor is like an induction burner where like it'll heat up, but like it won't burn anything unless like a person goes on there.
Which someone did.
Yeah, which also I kind of this is awful, but so this person went and seemed like basically he jumped into the induction burner and cooked himself. He was very much dead. And the reaction from people wasn't like, oh my God, like this guy just did that. Oh no, like that's awful. It was like, who the heck is gonna work now?
No, they were like, oh my God, like we lost him on our table. Oh, we're gonna smell him all night.
Yeah.
Like
I was,
okay.
yeah, that one. Well, I mean, he's gonna cook. That does stink, to be fair. But
Yeah, well,
also,
and they
like,
like everyone got out of bed and everyone was still in their little like pocket thing. But there was like an alarm and it was like, you have left your sleeping platform. Like,
yeah,
everyone get back on your sleeping platform. It's like, okay.
yeah. But I thought it was interesting because like when you're in a kitchen specifically, I don't know how it is for other workplaces because I never worked a desk job really besides like working for my mom every now and then, but even then like it wasn't really like that. um but when someone like doesn't come into work, it kind of ruins the entire flow, not the entire flow, but then you have to find someone to replace them for that day, especially if you're working in the kitchen and on the line. Like the line is like how you get food out to people and how you make money and how you keep the restaurant flowing in general. If someone's not working, if someone calls out and they're supposed to work on the line, it kind of sucks because then you have to either have a person work double the line or you have to take someone from another like place and put them there. And not a lot of like depending on the kitchen, they don't have a lot of staff to begin with, and they don't want too many staff, so they always keep like a good amount. So it's like it's a whole thing. And like I the way they were complaining about like, oh well, who's gonna work at the station, like who's gonna like we're gonna be slow, like our team's gonna be slow. And I was just like, man, that's like when I was working in the restaurants and we were like, oh man, that guy called off of work, what a jerk. Like I it sucks that like there wasn't like, oh no, poor guy. It was like, work, which is makes sense. I get well, I don't get it fully, but like they have to work or else they're gonna continue to suffer however they suffer through induction burner or shocking. um but yeah, that was interesting to see and horrifying, but yeah. And then uh they go back to sleep, and then they he continues to cook, I guess.
Yeah, much of Cassian's part of this episode was more to do with just him getting to prison, kind of learning how it works and getting into the flow of it. One interesting thing that does happen is we see Melshi and some other guy in like another bridge tunnel thing through windows, or like signing something at each other, but we're not sure what. I'm assuming they're communicating. We know Melshi, of course, does join the rebellion along with Cassian, so perhaps he's planning a breakout that Cassian will get pulled into, and they will, who knows? Who knows?
Yeah. Hope so.
I think it's really it for the Cassian.
They'll get a sweet pair of boots. I do know that there's like the part where they're asking Cassian about Keith, about like
Keith. It makes me Keith Gergo, bro. Keith Gergo.
I think it was
you could pick any name you wanted, and now he's stuck with Keith Gergo in prison.
Keith
Gergo.
Yeah, I think
not even Keith, just Keith.
Not even like grief, or I don't know.
Like grief Karga.
I don't know. But like they were asking him about what was happening with like the Senate and their ruling, right, and how the people on Aldhani, like the whole thing that happened on Aldhani is like either doubling or like it's doing something to their sentences at this point. I didn't fully understand it, but like that's what I got from it, is that it's like going to be affecting whether or not how long they're going to stay in there, or like how more harsher these prisons are going to be. I don't know.
Right. And Cassian, I think he, when they're asking like, oh, do you know anything about the like Senate ruling, and he's like, no idea. Like I don't think he's checked the news. But they say like, oh, like, it's, what do they say? It's in response to like after the Aldhani rebels had their mission, like they were like, some of our counters went up, like some of our sentences got doubled for no reason. Like Cassian says, when they ask him what he's in for, he says nothing, which is true. He got arrested for nothing. And then like, yeah, like a lot of people are getting in here for nothing. It's like,
yeah, which either to like continue like the work, I'm guessing, or just to like keep putting people in there till eventually like there's no one even left to even do anything outside as a rebellion. They're just kind of putting everyone in there anyway. But yeah, that was interesting to say the least. But yeah, and so he doesn't really know, which I yeah. And then he gets yelled at.
He does at least know, obviously, what happened in Aldhani. So he has to. I think it's the same thing with the rebels on or with the stormtroopers on Ferrix. Even though it's not really his fault, it is in a lot of ways a consequence of his actions. And you know, how Cassian's dealing with that is really interesting.
Yeah. Just kind of feeling bad for Cassian in general right now. Because like
Poor
there's a
Keith
lot that's
Gergo.
like
You
all
know,
over the
if he didn't
place.
go by Keith Gergo, none of this would have happened. It's
Yeah.
had to say Keith
It's all his
Gergo, and
fault.
look where he is. Um, yeah, so that's really the Cassian part of this episode. Also get more Deidre. You know, she's doing more, like, she's over and over again. It's so funny. She's right about the rebels. Like, she's coming up with like good plans, and they're like, but that's not the way we like to do things. And it's like, all right, your funeral, like, good for me if you don't listen to the smart lady. She does meet Cyril. I'm gonna be
Yeah.
honest, I laughed.
He just
Okay,
looks.
the way he was like sitting in that chair. Like,
I like his outfit.
His outfit was better this episode for sure.
I liked it. It was
But
very
no, okay,
nice,
but like
very
his
professional.
posture when they cut to him and he's like sitting, like the way he's like holding his shoulder, like it was like really fun. I just cut to him and he's just sitting there. You know what I mean, though? It was really funny. It was really funny. Like his face, like everything. He's just so pathetic. It's so
like
funny.
Little,
Just
honestly,
little rat
chihuahua,
weirdo.
but like a very awkward looking chihuahua, kind of like Bingo. Like just Bingo when he like puts his face back a little bit and his like eyes like are going in different directions. Like it was a little bit what he's giving. A little Bingo.
Oh,
but at least Bingo knows how to dress nicely with his bow tie.
oh my
Bingo's
goodness.
better at dressing.
He's so funny. Yeah. He was very funny. Just like I don't know. It just like I was like I don't know, he's funny. But so Deidre is like, all right, so in the past, like she says it's been less than a month since you got your fuel purity job. And she's like, and you have put in an inquiry for Cassian Andor 6 times, and she like lists all these different ways he tries to find Cassian. Like he called Cassian like a fuel inspector, like all these different things. And Sarah goes, actually, it was 7. She goes, I'm not counting today. It's like this man, this is like Darth Maul levels.
Yeah, like and he.
Cyril is really reaching Darth Maul levels over, like, man, like Cassian didn't cut your legs off and leave you in a trash planet, bro. Like, it's very funny.
I mean, it did lose him in his entire career, to be fair.
It did.
But you know,
his legs,
like that, you think like, listen, oh yeah, just stop then.
Get a new job, dude. Or you did get a new job, bro. Like, it's so funny. Yeah, he's very, very obsessed with Cassian. It's really funny.
I mean, who isn't?
And that's fair. That's fair. And Deidre is like, she asked him to like fill in some details on the report about the Ferrix incident that weren't filled out properly by Blevin, and like some stuff like that. She lets him read the report because he wasn't allowed to read it, even though he was forced to sign it. Things like that. And Cyril's like, I can do more. I can help you in service of the Empire. It's like a little moment. Again, his speeches are very funny.
It was a better speech.
It was a better, you know what? It's a lot better than his speech in episode 3. He is getting better. For sure. But
is Bobby proud? Like, probably not.
No. And Deidre's just like, okay, bye.
Yeah. She's a manipulator. She is girl bossing, gatekeeping, and gaslighting.
She's great. I kind of have to stand, unfortunately.
She's all the 3 Gs.
She's amazing. Yeah. So it was really funny. There's something else that happened with him and DJ. I cannot remember right now. He's just a funny little dude. Like, I want to inspect him. In a lab.
Like, is he in like a like a vial, or like
Yeah,
is he in a little
like
jar and you're just kind of looking at him?
yeah, sort of like when like you're a kid and you put like a firefly in a jar and you just look at it.
We don't have flyer fries in California, but yes,
Dang.
we did that
Oh,
with
I haven't seen
ladybugs.
any. What? Okay, sure, ladybug. He's a ladybug. Um,
There's a lot of ladybugs over here because it's getting cold.
he's uh very funny. I can't remember what it was. There was something I just thought about. I was like, man, I have to talk about this. I totally forgot it while I was talking about something else. Um, yeah. Oh, Cyril. Um, yeah, he's very funny.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's pretty much that's pretty much it for him. But
Mhm.
then he's just trying to like get his way in. But it's not working, at least right now.
Oh, I remember what it was. Because Deidre has him read the report and everything. And she's like, okay, I have some questions. And he's like, ready to go. And she's like, what about the man he was with? Because she's interested in Luthen, who they've nicknamed Axis, which is funny because then we also know there are Fulcrum agents. It's like the Axis and the Fulcrum. Um, uh, but they've nicknamed him Axis, and she's connecting him to a whole bunch of things across the galaxy. I
Mhm.
assume just from a storytelling perspective that he is connected to all these things, but like also maybe not. Maybe some of them are independent and not Luthen because there's a lot going on. So we have Cassian. We have Deidre, and she's like, what about the man that was with Cassian? Like, what about him? Like, did you see anything about him? Like, you just said he was a man wearing a cloak, and Cyril's like, it was a gray cloak.
Yeah.
Like, it's the one thing Deidre wants to know about. He's like, I heard his voice.
Which would be kind of interesting if he did like later on hear like a comm or something and it was him.
Yes. Yeah, I'm sure that'll come up. This is very funny because Deidre's like, this is the one thing I want to know about. He's so excited to help. And then she's like, you said he's wearing a man wearing a cloak. What else? He's like, his cloak was gray. It's like, buddy, it was really funny. He's just so
Um,
amusing. I don't know what it is. He's so amusing. Not a, he's I just like he's just like a miserable little man. You know, it's
of
very funny.
course. I just when he looks, his face is a rectangular face.
Yeah, very funny. We also got more Mon Mothma to party. Um, wasn't particularly like last episode's Mon Mothma party was a bit more dynamic. This one was sort of kind of things we learned from last episode. There was a very nice little interaction with Mothma and Guess. I just thought it was a little amusing. She's very like putting on a front. It's very obvious. We also learned that like she talks about how like she and her husband were arranged marriage at 15 or whatever. It's
Yeah.
like, man, 15.
Yikes.
I feel like I'm too young to get married now.
Yeah.
What? 15? And she's been a senator since 16? Kind of slay.
Yeah, I mean, even Padme was
She was queen at
closer.
like 12.
Yeah.
All these planets handing over their politics to teenage smart, actually,
I mean, yeah, at this point, like with our own
But
government, they're all
teenage
kind of old.
of all the options, teenage girls are up there higher than most, I would think.
I feel like we should implement this a little bit more,
You think so?
depending on the teenage girl. But yeah,
Yeah. I mean, they
it
were
would
elected.
do
I
our
don't know.
country a
Actually, I
little
don't
bit
know about
more better.
Mothma, but at least Padme was elected by her. Don't just pick a teenage girl. We elect her.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That was
that more of her talking with Tay Coma. She's still trying to like access the money, but there's like laws that are restricting the flow of credits. And yeah, nothing
she
like, it
just
wasn't like, oh, I got the money, like nothing really. I don't say nothing happened because it's still very entertaining to watch and I was very enthralled with it. But it wasn't any particularly heavy development from last week.
yeah, I mean, it's just like it's kind of, I mean, this is very much Among Us. Like she's trying so hard to do all these things, and it's like it's scary, especially when she knows that she's being watched constantly.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he was saying like he's being watched, but he just said like, no, it's just getting more difficult to pull money. Like that is also probably like just as scary, especially when you're trying to help this person for a cause that you know is probably going to get you killed. But yeah, I think that I hope that she's like extra careful, especially because she is doing these parties and stuff. And her like her husband is near all the time, and I feel like he would not hesitate to just be like, I'm going to report my wife, and then like just that's scary.
Yeah, Mothma has no allies in her own home.
Yeah.
Very scary.
Yeah, and I like, okay, I am not good at drinks. I barely passed my wines test or class in general. I did. I passed with like a 78.
Hey, that's pretty good. That's
like,
more than just passing.
Right. Like a majority is like it's like 66.
One of my RAs once said, C's get degrees.
Yeah. This one kept me my 3.0, so I'm fine.
Hey,
I'm cool with it.
Pretty good.
I think I got a better score than that. I don't remember. I don't remember right now, and I don't want to think about it. But for like, if I could, I would love to make a drink like that. Like that would be so.
You just drop the little thing in, and
and it would just like
it's like the Ray bread of drinks.
It just dissolved, and like I think it's like it could be possible. It's probably just like a slug or something. Maybe it's like the acidity of that wine that they're drinking that is so freaking high that the the worm just goes like that's so cool. I would never put that in my drink, but that is so cool. I think that would like I don't have the science brain for this. I'll have to ask like my friend who's like an actual like som and stuff, but like if you could do that for like a wine, or like maybe like it could be like a sugar worm, because like the worm carcass is still in there like afterwards. It's just like the outer pieces of the worm that just dissolve. So it's like they're like kind of like a slug situation where you put salt slug and it just kind of like spews away. I don't know. I haven't seen any. I haven't done that ever because I feel like that's awful. But like it just kind of dissolves. I don't know. I thought that was really cool. That's all. But yeah, so it's like a chandrilin wine or something, which would be cool to know what that is and what that is in comparison to real life wine. Because I don't know. That'd be interesting because I know wines now, but not really. But like I do know wines, so that's cool.
I'm sure it'll be at Galaxy's Edge or on the cruise thing.
Yeah,
within a year.
It looks like, from what I saw very briefly, looked like a white wine, but then like it turned like yellow after
maybe
the
it's like a champagne.
Yeah, because it has bubbles. It's very small bubbles, not big bubbles, small bubbles. I don't know. It had like, yeah, I need to talk to a Star Wars chef. That would be cool. I don't know. Star Wars, just that would be cool. I could do that. But anyway, yeah, I thought that was really cool. And
Yeah.
my brain won't stop thinking about it. Her outfits are so nice
Every time.
every time. And like, yeah, they're
Yeah.
awesome. And I am confused by her child, by Lita.
Yes.
Yeah, like, because she didn't even say anything this time. She just went, "Hey, you're drinking? Peace."
Yeah, that was a weird interaction. Or well, Mothma didn't have any. Mothma, I assume she wanted to stay a little sharp. When you're running a rebellion against the Empire, you probably don't want to risk loosening your lips. Also, she said like, "Oh, I
Yeah,
lost my taste for it," which seems likely because even Tay and Perrin, who were drinking it, Perrin had quite a bit. We're like, "Yeah, it's disgusting. Drink it for custom." It's like, okay. Um,
yeah.
yeah. Later was
I know
like, "Oh, I
that
didn't know you
there's
like
some
that stuff."
ones.
It was like very weird interaction for sure.
Yeah, it was very judgmental. And I think it's interesting because, like, you see the husband every now and then in the background, and he's always looking at, like,
Well,
Mothma.
every
By
time,
now
every time you
that
definitely
it's
get the
not because of
impression
her looks.
he, every time you get the impression he thinks like, oh, like Mothma's cheating with me on Tay. It's like, well, first of all, you suck, so you deserve it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Like, you
but
act like you
also
care if
every
that would have happened anyway.
also every single time, like especially in the last episode, every single time it cuts to him, he's like talking to a bunch of women. So it's like she can talk to an old friend, sir. Chill, chill out.
Yeah,
Um,
I wonder if maybe the husband is sending her, like Lita, over to
uh,
be like, "Hey, what's up? Oh, yeah, anyway,
maybe.
see ya." Because like that, like the first one, she wanted to leave, understandable.
Mm.
But this time it was like, it was weird. And then just what we saw, like how she seems to like her father more than her mother, which is a mistake, but whatever. Um, like it's weird. I don't like it. There's
It's
something
weird.
going
Yeah.
on with that kid.
She's a changeling.
Yeah, it's actually
She's
the
Zam
husband.
Wessel.
Oh, yeah. I'll die on that hill.
Yeah.
But
So that's the Mothma part of this episode. We also go back to Ferrex for a bit, which was great. I love Ferrex. So we see more of the Imperial occupation, but we also see Bix taking care of
Marva,
Marva, who had fallen. They said she was trying to she's trying to like open a tunnel under Rick's road where the stormtrooper barracks are. She's like, really into, gung ho being a rebel. And so Bix is taking care of her and she talks to, I'm gonna look up his name because he deserves it. The guy from the first couple episodes.
I love him.
He's such a bro. Do you remember his name?
No, but I love him. I
um,
just know that he's so cool.
I'm gonna look him up
He's
right
such a
now.
good guy. And he's
Yeah,
like, yeah, just
what a bro
very
for
good.
real. Um,
A real one.
Brasso,
Yes.
I think it is. Um, he and Bix are taking care of Marva and stuff and trying to figure out what to do. And because she refuses to leave, she very much refuses to leave. And she's like, and they're trying to find Cassian. And Bix actually goes, she uses the same like comm tower Morse code thing that she used in the first couple episodes to get in touch with Luthen when she wanted him to come meet Cassian. And she does it. And Luthen doesn't respond. We'll get to that in a minute. But then like literally it felt like the next day. I'm not sure if that was the full intention. But very soon after, the man and his teenage son, the man that
That
can
Axel
take it
could probably
away.
cost him.
He has a hoodie. He has a hoodie in Star Wars. Um, he the father was taken away into the old hotel, and they don't know what's happening. And the son is like obviously devastated, trying to figure out where his dad is. And Bix realizes like, like, oh, like, it's the same thing kind of Cassian is feeling, like, oh, this is my fault. And then the stormtroopers notice her, and she tries to run.
Do you think it's because she used the thing, or because like they're just connected to Cassian?
I think the reason they caught her was her connection to Cassian. Like, because they look at her and they're like, oh, you look just like the picture. Like, they have something of her. I think that's related to Cassian. But I think the reason the house was raided is definitely because of her message to Luthen. It must have been intercepted or something like that,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very sad. So it was so interesting too, because they're on Ferrix and Deidre's on Ferrix now. And so they have the dad, and he's like strapped to the chair, like he's clearly just taking a beating. And they're like, all right, let's get him out of here, when they're bringing Bix in. And teacher's like, no, let him stay. I want her to see it. And as soon as Bix is in the door and can see him, Deidre puts on the show, and she's like, what are you doing?
Gaslight.
Like,
gaslight. Gatekeep.
She is such a good, like, antagonist kind of character.
Manipulator.
She's so fascinating. I'm kind of obsessed with her.
Smart but manipulative.
I'm obsessed with her. Thrawn wishes he was Deidre.
No, I still like Thrawn better than Deidre. She's getting there.
Thrawn too.
She's definitely getting there. She's very smart, but
Thrawn has like the battle strategy, but I think Deidre has the like personal mind games.
Emotional
more than him, because he doesn't get, Thrawn doesn't necessarily get like human interaction or like personal interaction as much. Deidre has that down, and because that's like that was the one flaw of Thrawn's, was he couldn't play the politics game, even though he was really good at battle strategy. Deidre has the politics pretty much down, and the personal, love her. Yeah, and then we don't really see what happens to Bix after that. So I guess we'll find out next episode. That's scary. So going to Luthen. So Luthen's on Coruscant, and so Clea picks up the message from Bix, and she tells Luthen, she's like, it's also in Ferrix, Cinta and Val are back together again.
Yes.
I was like,
they need to go on a date.
I was so worried about Cinta, but she's okay. And she and Val are together on Ferrix. I know, literally give them a little honeymoon, little something.
Their relationship.
But I'm glad they're back. So they are hunting Cassian. So they're on Ferrix because it's really the only lead they have. And they're trying to figure out like who knows who, how to get information, like trying to figure out how to find Cassian, because he's clearly not here. And Val, so Cinta wants to split up, and Val does not want to. And Cinta's very like, mission comes first, like blah blah. And Val has a bit of a hard time with that. It reminded me a lot of Kanan and Hera in Rebels, especially in season 2. And
I mean, it's a tough time to have a relationship.
For sure. It definitely sided with them both in that conversation. It was a very hard conversation. And Cinta is coming up with her backstory, and Cinta says like, I'm gonna be a rich girl running from her family, and Vel's like, that's cold, which just feeds my fire of Vel being Luthen's daughter. I'm just saying. He's rich. He's rich. And Cinta might not know she's in contact with him because she kept that secret, I'm just saying. So they're trying to find Cassian. So update on them, my queens. That's Ferrix. So Clea picks up the transmission from Vix, and Luthen's like, "Oh, we should answer it. Like, we should message Val and Cynthia. Like, we gotta find Cassian." And Clea's like, "You're slipping," and that hits Luthen hard. Like, he's very affected by that. Like, he's very much like he doesn't even get like angry like he did with Val. He's just like almost sad. Like, I'm not slipping. It's like, oh, buddy, no, you're not. It's okay.
At first I was kind of like, hey, he knows what he's doing. He's done this for a long time. But then also, like, it sucks, but that's just kind of how it gotta be. Like, it like, you just have to have faith in these people that you know. And also Bix, like she might be calling because she doesn't know where Cassian is. So like she doesn't have information on Cassian anyway. So there's no much point like in talking to her. So yeah. Poor Luthen.
Poor Luthen, yeah. He's, and he's one thing that's affecting him is he's scared that Cassian's out there. Cassian's seen his face, knows his name, has been on his ship, and Luthen's very much like scared of that and what that can mean. And we don't think Cassian's gonna tell anyone. I don't think he's gonna tell anyone. But like Luthen doesn't really know that. And he's regretting a lot, And then yeah, it was a very interesting side of Luthen to see. Because we've seen him be like very harsh. We've seen him in like Hannah Montana mode and dealing with Mon Mothma and having a firmness to him. And this was like a very soft form of Luthen, which was really interesting to see.
Yeah. We've seen all the sides of Luthen.
All the sides. He's a polygon. So the last big thing episode I think we haven't talked about is Saw Gerrera's here. Of course he is. He's everywhere. But we love him.
My heart was, I don't know why, I was just so happy. I was like, it's him.
It's the man. It's Mr. Rebel Man himself.
Yeah. But then my brain was like, oh.
So Luthen meets up with Saw. And Saw is like, that Eldani thing, you did a good job. And Luthen's like, I thought it was you. You did a good job. And they're like, it is funny. Because Saw's like, you wouldn't, it's like a very like, I don't know how to explain. It's like, I feel like it's an interaction everyone's had a little bit before. Just that like weird, like kind of awkward back and forth. Like you're both keeping a secret. And Luthen's like, I thought you, Luthen's like, well, that's exactly what you'd say if you did it. And Saw's like, that's exactly what you'd say if you did it. It's like, oh my gosh, this is too funny. Like they're both such serious characters too. It was really amusing.
Seeing Saw smile is so strange.
It's so nice though.
It is nice, but I like saw him smile and I was like, oh, I'm smiling.
Don't do that.
And then I was
you
like,
should only do that when you're murdered. Just kidding. That's not Saw. Yeah, so like that was just really funny. It kind of caught me off guard. And then we get into, they have a like little bit of a debate, and it's really interesting because I think earlier I had and a couple other people had likened Luthen to Saw in a lot of ways. But in this conversation, Luthen kind of shows himself to be much more in the middle. I think if we put Mothma and Saw on two ends of the spectrum, I think Luthen's a bit more in the middle. Between them. But he definitely, like when he's with Mothma, he exemplifies the Saw side, and when he's with Saw, he exemplifies the Mothma side a little bit, which is super interesting.
Do you think that they already did their thing then?
What?
Like do you think Mothma already hates Saw?
I don't know.
Like, did that already happen maybe, and that's why he's playing both?
Here's the thing, like we know at this point because of like Rebel Rising and things like that, Saw is, and Jedi Fallen Order too, the Saw is a little bit known, and that he's already done something.
Yeah, which I think is
Uh,
so funny because Luthen was roasting him the entire time. And he was like,
yeah.
"Yeah, you're petty." And Saul's like, "I'm not petty."
Saul's like, I made bombs with blades in them and blew up a party with a 16-year-old, bro. Don't
Yeah,
talk to
he's like,
me.
"I am not petty."
So I was like, I literally murder people for possibly figuring out who Jin is. Like, don't even. Um, yeah. So at this point, I would say they maybe haven't met yet, but Mothma definitely probably knows of Saw, and is
Yeah.
like, you know, because
She saw
Saw,
him on the recruitment list and she like, I think I'm
just
gonna
erase
deny
him.
this one.
Yeah. Um, yeah, because we are running up to the wire as far as Rebels. We're only a couple years off. I think 2 years off from their little hologram argument in Rebels.
Yeah.
So, you know, yeah. But it was interesting because Luthen's like, look, like, imagine what we could do together. Like, we get some more allies, like, unify, which is much more what Mothma was saying when he was like, no, I don't trust anyone. So it's just so interesting to see, like, it's one thing to see how he flips between Luthen with Cassian and then the Hannah Montana mode on Coruscant, but this is just the same kind of flip, just a little less obvious, which is so cool and such an interesting part of his character. And Saw is very like, no, I'm not working with that person. They're separatists. I'm not working with that person. They're human cultists, which is fair. I don't know what a human cultist is. Doesn't sound good.
Yeah.
It's like, and like, I don't want to work with that person. They're like a neo Republican, I think he says, and like all these different things. And it's so interesting because on one hand, definitely draw your lines. I support drawing the line at human cultists,
Have boundaries. You know,
Especially since Saw has so many alien things. Um, but and it obviously depends because obviously Saw's homeworld was invaded by separatists. Um, but also we know a lot of separatists, like you also had separatists like Mina Monteri who just didn't support the Republic anymore. So it depends on what kind of person a separatist is, but there's a point where, maybe the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And
yeah.
it's interesting because I mean we have Mon Mothma who seems a bit open to working with separatists. Padme worked with separatists during the Clone Wars. You know, it's just so. I love the Republic separatist thing.
Yeah. I
It's so
mean,
interesting.
and it's very much, like obviously I can't say, why the rebellion doesn't win because the rebellion eventually wins. It's just
Mhm.
that Saw needs help, but he won't accept help from people
Mhm.
he doesn't deem he gatekeeps. He doesn't girl
Yeah.
boss. Sometimes he girl boss, but he just gatekeeps. So
he does he gaslight? Maybe a
maybe
little
he
bit.
did a little
Just a
bit.
little bit. Just a little bit.
He was like,
Um.
I didn't abandon you. What? I don't know what you're talking about. It's like, yeah, I think you
Yeah.
did. But yeah, I mean it just shows like the divisions and like I don't want to say boundaries because boundaries are sometimes healthy, but like because boundaries sounds like a very like therapist thing, and I don't
He's
think
putting
therapists are.
walls up. He's putting walls
Yes,
up.
he's putting
You
walls
know.
up. He's gatekeeping what he wants,
Mm-hmm.
and whether that works for him, that's good. But later on, it kind of shows like it doesn't really work out for him much
Mm-hmm.
anyway.
Yeah.
Um,
And
which
I
is
mean,
you know
ultimately, thematically, Star Wars is about everyone coming together against the evil. Like Return of the Jedi, sort of the end of Rebels, the end of Resistance, the end of Rise of Skywalker, definitely. Like that's what it's about. It's about kind of putting aside your differences and coming together.
Mhm.
Um, and Saul is missing that. And that's again, like I think I said this in an earlier episode, like a lot of people kind of glamorize the violence a little bit and are like, well, like you never could have won without Saw. And that's true. I don't think the rebels could have won, or at least would have had to win very differently if it wasn't for people like Saul and also Luthen. But they also couldn't have won without the Mon Mothmas and the Bail Organas, the people who were willing to play the politics game to set aside their differences and unify. And um That's where you need all the different perspectives, all the different skills, all the different types of people. And it's so interesting. I love how Andor is exploring it. I think it's so fantastic.
Yeah, I and like I also think I don't know, this show is really interesting to me, and it's not surprising because it's just really good. But I can't say I'm surprised, but like I'm surprised with the amount of people that don't, not that they don't like it, but they find it boring. Like just the show in general. Like I when I went out to eat at one of the kitchens today, like there's this like friend of a friend, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go watch Andor, so I gotta go. And he was like, oh yeah, and then he stopped me, even though I said, hey, I gotta go, or whatever. And then he was like, yeah, like Andor's boring. And I was like, okay. I think it's cool. And they're like, and he was like, well, it just doesn't have enough action. And I was like, all right, well, if you want action, let's just go to another show.
There's
And like,
plenty of shows if you want action.
yeah, I mean, just in general, like we're so numb to like things happening, like action and like gore and things like that. Some of us, but it's, which is why I don't know. I really like the show because there's not constant need for just action thrown in randomly. And I don't know, the politics of it too is also really cool, because the only other time that there's really like much politics is like sometimes with certain scenes with Padme in Clone Wars, and then in the books. Which I also want to point out that like I think it's cool that we are getting like a queer couple in this show, because it's also just nice, because the last time we did, it was not really great. We won't talk about that, but like it is cool. It's like they're taking these really great books and they're like, hey, let's make it a show, which is just, it's really cool. Especially because there are a lot more queer representation in, you know, the books and the comics rather than in the shows and the movies. But anyway, I think it is really cool. And I like the show a lot. I think it should keep going, no matter what anyone else says. Star Wars should just listen to us. Just be like, yeah, keep going.
Yeah. I think I know this show is slated for 2 seasons, and I'm not a fan of making the show run longer just because, especially because they set themselves a 5-year time limit essentially for the stories they can tell. But I hope the response to this show leads to more shows like this. Like, could we get a show featuring like a lot of what Bail Organa did? We got some of that in Leia, Princess of Alderaan, but that was from Leia's perspective. Same thing in the Ahsoka novel, but it was from Ahsoka's perspective. You know, like, could we see what Bail's and Brea? They cast a wonderful woman as Brea in the Obi-Wan Kenobi, and she killed it. And I would love to see more outside. Bail and Brea are probably my number 2 Star Wars couple, right under Kanan and Hera. I love their dynamic. So much fun, so sweet. You know, and could we even get, you know, we obviously have some Star Wars books covering post-Empire politics with The Princess and the Scoundrel, which I just read, Bloodline, a lot of that. Like, I think there's so much room for political stuff. Like, a political show during the Clone Wars, like, because even the political episodes of the Clone Wars still were like, oh, time's almost up. They gotta go shoot some people right now. You know,
let's go blow it up.
Like, oh man, we're 15 minutes in, no one's died yet. Come on, we gotta fix that real quick.
Oh no, a senator died.
Right, like, you know, and I would love like the episodes were like this episode and this show with like Clone Wars. I'm just so fascinated by the Separatist Republic, and like, okay, this is so off the rails, but like imagine, okay, so like post Empire, right? So you have all these rebels, they're trying to form the new republic, but like all the debates that come up, because now there's going to be some people who like the former separatists probably, or separatist sympathizers, that are like, see what happened when we had a centralized republic across the whole galaxy. I don't want to do that again. We shouldn't have a new republic. And then you have the like the Mon Mothmas who are like, well, but it's all of us coming together that solved it. You know, if there's a big problem, like, and we're not all together, like, what's gonna happen? I would love a show where they talk. I love anything where they talk about that, bro. I want the former separatists to rise up again. I don't even like the separatists that much, but I think it's so fascinating. Sorry,
No,
I'm
it's
so
good.
sorry.
It's a podcast, so we talk. No, but I like the part in the what was it? Like
I need
it
to
was
drink
it
water.
was like Mama and her party, and she was talking to these other senators and stuff, and like it was such a tense situation
yeah, we didn't talk about that.
because like that was like I felt it. I was
Dude,
like, oh
no,
God,
when that one guy is like, "Oh, Palpatine just says what he's really thinking," I was like,
yeah.
"Bro,"
I was like, oh,
I've
flashbacks.
met that guy. I've met all of those guys. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, he just says what he's really thinking. Like, dude,
Yeah, like if you're not doing anything wrong, then you have nothing to like.
in
No,
case
shut up.
in case anyone thought this show was too subtle,
Yeah,
in
okay,
case
but there's another.
anybody
Oh,
forgot, it was probably started early pre-production following 2016. Just
speaking
so you
of
know. Just
speaking
so
of
you know.
subtle, like Cassian, sorry, going back, but subtleness,
2017.
not even
Sorry.
subtle, not even subtle with Cassian and like, you know, taking off the shoes and then also like them taking a shower, but it's all together and it's like this, not even an actual shower. It's like like
they're like in a giant room and then it's just like
it steams and it's like if people didn't know this was like based upon like the Holocaust and stuff, like the whole empire itself, like this is like a slap in the face at this point. Like this is like you are eyes open, you have lenses, you have glasses, whatever, and you're still like running into this wall. Like it like oh my God. There's like so much with this show that is so cool. And I wish more people were watching it because I know the people that need to watch it are the ones that are saying that there's not enough action in it. And it's like, oh, just watch it. You might learn something.
Yeah.
You might not.
The show is so good.
But yeah, that I especially just that conversation that Mon Mothma was having because she was like, oh really? What threats are you under right now? Like, what is your definition of wrong? Like that, all of that, even if like say you're just having a conversation with someone, like people just have different views upon everything and it might depend on how they grew up, like who taught them these things, you know, like just a lot of things. There's a lot of contribution to factors to it, and it's interesting to see these people that are super rich and they don't have to worry about the things that the empire is really doing besides like Mothma. Like they don't have a care in the world, you know, like Cassian says, they're so fat and happy and satisfied. Like there's that nothing will happen to them, which is the funniest part because it's happening right now all the time. Like these people that have this privilege to just go about their day, not think, oh man, there's a cop over there, like that's scary, we should go the other way. Like it's like they don't, like certain people don't think like that sometimes, and it shows especially with the people that since they have that privilege, they just they just don't need to be scared, and because of that they just think about themselves and don't think about other people that are affected by it, not by their privilege, but sometimes their privilege, but just by how they're ignoring all the things because of this privilege. Like yeah, that's my spiel. But the show's so great, I love it so much. Yeah, if I could just put like, if they could just make one really really big action scene so that way everyone could watch it, I wouldn't mind. That would be fine, so that way people could be slightly
every so often they cut away and like here's a Jedi cutting things up. All
right guys, now back to Cassian. Yeah, sorry, Keith
Gergo. Stupid name.
Yeah, name my I don't even know. It's such a strange name. I wonder what if he kind of like Clem. I wonder if he got that from somewhere. Like he was like, I don't know, a friend.
There
His name
better
was
be,
Keith.
because if he could have named himself anything, he just thought independently, Keith Gergo. He's so mad at him. I hope it's a tragic backstory. It better
Yeah.
be. You hear me, Cassian?
Yeah, but this show's great. I love it. There's so many aspects to it that are so good. Um, and yeah.
That's Andor. Something to wrap it up. Thank you. Great episode. Andor is great every week. You can find Star Wars Geek Girl on the Star Wars Geek Girl Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram at SWGirl, and the month StarWarsGeekGirl.com has a monthly poll, book reviews sometimes. I'm actually about to read my last Star Wars book before I'm officially caught up for like 2 weeks before another one comes out.
Wow.
So yay. I'm partially through it. We also do quizzes on Wednesdays and blog articles on Fridays sometimes. If I can come up with an idea, usually I can. Some weeks I cannot. Yeah, and keep an eye out for our Tales of the Jedi podcast. We haven't recorded it yet, but I know it's gonna be great. I'm really excited. So, yay.
Yes. Very excited. And I have to watch that tonight so that way I can get all caught up and I don't see spoilers online.
Hype.
Yeah. I I did watch the trailer. Because this was like yesterday. We were gonna watch. I was watching Daredevil, rewatching, and like I saw it and I was like, oh, Dooku looks so young. Like he's looks so geometric, and I know that's kind of Clone Wars' style, but it's he's so pointy.
Yeah, it's definitely an adaptation of Dooku from the Clone Wars, but Dooku in the Clone Wars has that like huge beard,
Yeah.
and that's like gone. Interesting. Also, because I forgot to mention it, in the background of Luthen's shop is a Jedi Temple Guard mask, like the one Kanan wears. It's definitely not related to the one Kanan wears because he probably got it on Coruscant because that's where the Jedi Temple was. I just have to say it.
Yeah, no, Canon sold it. um this is when like we kind of did, but kind of didn't. Like this is when after Saw dumps Jin, right? Pretty much.
Yeah, so we know Saw dumps Jin. He jumps Jin. That would be a funny story. And he dumps Jin around this time. I assume, like probably right before this. Um, because she was dumped when she was 16, and she's like early 20s in Rogue One. Although Cassian was also mid 20s in Rogue One before this show, so who knows? Um, but yeah, it would have been very shortly before this.
Okay. Yeah. Just making sure. Um, but yeah, sorry. I just wanted to make that note. For the Rogue Rebels, there's theroguerebels.com, Instagram and TikTok at the Rogue Rebels, Twitch at Rogue Rebels, podcast wherever you're listening to Star Wars Geek Girl, Facebook page the Rogue Rebels, and Twitter at Rogue Rebels fam. Yes. Yeah. And that's cool. I still have mine. I changed mine to Keith Gergo because I think it's funny. And whether anyone else thinks it's funny, I don't care.
I think it's funny.
Yes. And mine is at Rogue Rebel S.
So. Yeah, my personal Twitter is at AHZOEKA, Zoeka, and then Instagram and TikTok at Spectre_5. Yeah, so thank you so much for listening. I was Zoe.
I was Lizzy.
May the force be with you, and goodbye.
Goodbye.
Star Wars Geek Girl. They're geek girls that like Star Wars. And sometimes cry.